Hey everybody, Ray here, and today I want to show you how my friend Brian and I put a remote controlled hoist up into his garage to be able to lift the top off the back of his Jeep. It worked out really well. I think I've given you all the details to be able to replicate this yourself if you'd like to make one. So stick around, it's a good project, I think you'll like it. And if you do, don't forget, hit that like button for me. It makes YouTube want to share my videos with more people. Now Brian has wanted a Jeep for a long time, and he finally got this Rubicon, and we've been having some fun. The first thing we did was put on some new front bumpers. Pay no attention to those pants, they only flared up just slightly. And the test of the winch worked out just great. Now Brian got this Jeep so we could do some off-road camping. We're looking forward to some really great adventures. And it should be no problem for us at all. I mean, really, what could happen? I suppose we could get stuck in the mud somewhere, or maybe we could get stuck going down some steep rocks that we shouldn't have gone down, or I suppose we could get stuck trying to go up some steep rocks that we shouldn't have tried to go up. Or maybe we'll go out in the winter to go do some camping and we'll get stuck in the snow. No, until proven wrong, I'm going to say that we are not going to have those bad things happen. And we are not going to run out of food or water or get lost like we do when we're hiking. Because you know what? Now we will be in a Jeep, and those things don't happen in a Jeep. Now let's get down to the business of mounting a hoist so we can remove the top off the Jeep. Brian found a hinge hoist bracket kit from a company called Topsy Products. It's a little pricey, but it works great. And the kit also included hooks for the front of the top. We started out by measuring the distance between the connection points on the Jeep's top, so we could figure out how large our frame needed to be on the ceiling of the garage. The distance between our back connection points was 36 inches. Front to back, the connections were 48 inches, so we knew we wanted our frame to be 5 feet long to give us a little extra room. Brian taught me about these super strut systems that you could buy at Home Depot, and they really work great. Our Home Depot carried the 10-foot frame or the 2-foot frame, but if you can cut the frame yourself, you can see by the price that it's much more cost-effective to buy the 10-foot frame. On the right, you can see all the various pieces you can buy to attach different things to the frame. We chose to use the cone nut. We'll show how to use that later in the video. Based on our measurements, we knew we needed two 5-foot super struts, spaced 36 inches apart. We also are adding another 2-foot super strut to put extra pulleys on. You'll see that later in the video. Using a stud finder, we located the ceiling joist. Then we mounted our first 5-foot super strut with a 3/8 inch lag bolt that was 3.5 inches long. Then we measured across 36 inches so we knew where to mount the second 5-foot super strut. Here are the two 5-foot struts mounted to the ceiling. Then we added the 2-foot super strut in between. Here's the diagram for how we mounted the pulleys. We used nylon core nuts which slide into the super struts, and then we screwed 3/8 inch eye bolts into those core nuts to tighten them down into the super strut. Here are all the pulleys installed. Each individual pulley is attached to the eye bolt with a carabiner. We actually didn't need the two pulleys in the middle, so we removed them. Here's the winch that Brian purchased. Two great options are that it's remote control and it has a safety stop. The winch comes with brackets to allow you to attach it to the super strut as shown here. We mounted our winch to the back wall, making sure that our lag bolts went into the studs. Before tightening down the winch, we made sure that the actual cable portion of the winch was centered with our hoist apparatus. To make our cables, we used 1/8 inch wire cables, 1/8 inch thimbles, and 1/8 inch aluminum ferrules. Here's a completed cable loop end. We backed the Jeep in so we could start measuring to see how long the rear cable needed to be. Starting from the rear attachment point, we measured up to the first pulley, back to the second pulley, and back forward again to the large carabiner that would connect to the winch. Now, repeat that same measuring process for the front cables. Note that the cables for the front of the top do not have to go through that center super strut. Remove the nuts that hold the top onto the back of the Jeep. We connected the cables and lifted the top off for the first time. Everything went perfectly. We went up slowly and incrementally because it was the first time, but we couldn't have been happier with the results. We got the Jeep top off just in time, as Brian had volunteered to drive in the Veterans Day Parade with a veteran in the back of his Jeep. Brian and his wife and the veteran all had a great time. Our town has a wonderful turnout for these Veterans Day parades, and we certainly do appreciate our veterans. You can see that the top is plenty high enough to walk under and certainly high enough to pull the Jeep under. To help him get centered while backing under the top, Brian came up with what I thought was a pretty bright idea. He just hung a couple of bungee cords, one on each side of the top. So here's Brian backing up under the top in the garage for the first time. The bungee cords worked great. He could really center the Jeep, and then all he had to worry about was the depth that he was backing in. And that really isn't that hard to see. Using the remote gives you a lot more flexibility walking around and watching the top as you lower it down gently. Once you get it close to the alignment pins, just line it up. You might have to move it an inch or two, but it'll plop on there perfectly. Now just go around and remove all the hooks from the top of the Jeep. Once the hooks are removed, you just move the winch up a little bit to get them out of the way. And don't forget, now you have to go back inside the Jeep and put the nuts back in that hold the top to the Jeep. If you don't, you're in for a very unpleasant surprise. Well, we hope you liked the video, and we hope we gave you enough detail to be able to do this project yourself. We think we did. If you did like the video, hit that like button for us, would you? We'd appreciate it. And comment below. What would you have done differently? Or did you like what we did here? Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.